We welcome you here this morning so that we can worship God and celebrate together in this beautiful service of collaboration with Faith United Church and Sydenham Street United Church, Chalmers United Church, and Edith Rankin Memorial here in this beautiful sanctuary of God's creation on the shores of Collins Bay. We are very grateful that you've all come this morning to share, to learn, to celebrate, to honor as we gather to recognize Indigenous Day of Awareness. And so we gather here with intention and with hope, and we are all grateful to be able to come together to share in God's goodness. Welcome to those of you who are on Zoom, and we are grateful that you are here with us, and we're hoping that all of our technology will work, thanks to Sarah, who's co-hosting on Zoom this morning. When we gather here, we are wanting to be a family, and when you're family, what do? You worship, and then you eat. And so we invite all of you to stay for lunch after our worship service. If you brought a pot, we thank you. If you didn't, we hope you brought some luck, because it's a potluck this morning, and the beauty of potluck is that there's enough for everyone always. And there's great variety for meat eaters, for vegetarian, for gluten-free, whatever your choice is, there's something for you at the table. So please plan to stay after worship and celebrate here together as we feast. And as we gather here, I want to welcome the worship team leaders. This team has been working to create this beautiful worship service for you from the Joint Truth and Reconciliation Action Group. This is a group from all of these churches represented, and I know that they are eager to share their good news with you. So be sure to talk with them after worship today, too, about their work on the Joint Truth and Reconciliation Action Group. We are blessed today to be able to have Kimberly, and grandmother Kate is on her way. And our intention today is to be able to lift up the work of Indigenous women in the community and around the world. And we also recognize that it's Father's Day. And so we celebrate with all of the fathers that are with us, and we ask for God's blessing to be with fathers as they gather with their families and with their children to be able to lift up and celebrate all the great things that our fathers offer to us. And so as we are a blessing here, welcome Grandmother Kate, we're blessed to have you. And as we gather, we're going to ask, are there any announcements from any of the communities of faith that are here today that you want people to know of?
I have a quick one for Chalmers, that the walking group that usually meets on Tuesday won't be walking on Tuesday. So if you're part of that group, you might be walking by yourself.
We're going to be asking for a special offering today, and instead of it going to your home congregations, any cash offerings that you offer today, we're going to be sharing with Kimberly and Grandmother Kate, and they are going to be using those resources to share with the Sacred Fire. And so your gifts and resources will extend beyond our time of worship and celebration today to continue to kindle the spark that is between us with the Sacred Fire. And so we thank you for that blessing. And we invite Kimberly to come and share with us the acknowledgement of this land. Oh, Grandma Kate's going to do it.
I'm grateful to be here, really super honored and grateful to be here and on this land and in this territory. I'm going to take my shoes off because it's always nice to feel the grass and connect to the earth as we do. So it's just really beautiful to be able to do that and be out here on a beautiful day. So The welcoming to territory, you know, it's very interesting how we do these things, and they're not always going to be the same or uniform. I was always taught to like speak from my heart. That's the first thing, is speak from my heart. And so I'll introduce myself first, and my name is Kimberly DeBoski. Kimberly DeBoski Indigenous Cost, Minwa Mindo Sinque Indigenous Cost. Adek and Dodem, Chiging, Minwa Mindo Minising and Dunjaba, Anishinaabe, Kwe and Da'al. Kingston, Minwa Tainanega, Mohawk Territory in the Da, Economaga Kwe, Anishinaabe Mo and Economaga Kwe, Queen's University, Minwa Limestone District School Board. And so I do that introduction because when I say my name like this, I'm understanding that everything around me hears that. When we have our Anishinaabe Noswin, our spirit names, the spirit, the creation, all of creation knows who's speaking when we share that name. And so when we touch the earth, or we acknowledge the earth, or acknowledge the ground that we're on, then it knows who's speaking. And so I just want to say welcome. If you're new to this place, if you're new to the territory, if you're new to what we know as Karuakwe or Kingston, this is the land of the people of the Haudenosaunee people, and of the Anishinaabe people, and of the Huron-Wendat people. And when we stand here and we acknowledge the territory, and I'm looking out at the water, I'm thinking of all those generations of people that traveled that water, because we didn't have highways like this and roadways. They traveled the water, so they were connected to the water. And so I acknowledge the water, because this is that space that we're in. And I acknowledge the land and all the ancestors that walked upon this land and that built their lives on this land and that met up with each other on this land and worked on this land and sustained their generations of people through their connection to this land, to the water, to the air, to the animals, and to all the things and all the beings within creation. And when people came here, we welcomed them. You know, we knew that people were coming here. And so there's great stories that go along and talk about that. But we did welcome people, and we worked together at one point, and then things happened. And so when I think about welcoming people to the territory, I think about my ancestors that saw that people were coming here, and they welcomed them. And they helped them. They really did. They helped them out. They helped them survive, and they helped them thrive in a new place, new to them, that they didn't understand. The territory and the land and the structure and the climate and everything. And so when I think of doing this welcoming, which I don't do often, to be honest, I leave it up to the elder ones to do these type of things, welcome to territory, and I try to do my best when asked, you know. But I think that's really important when we think of the land and territory. This is our place. We've been here for a long, long time. And there are places all around us that have remnants of that share who we are and what we did here on this land. And that's really important. And people are researching that. People are looking at that because we haven't been able to do that before. And it has been done for a long time, but not by us, by other anthropologists, right? And they share the story in their way. But now we're starting to take up those places and really look at what's here on this land. And so when I touch my feet to this ground, I'm thinking of all the ancestors and how they lived by values and principles that are good ways. So us as Anishinaabe, we are understanding ourselves to be the good beings, the good people, and to live and walk in a way that honors them all the way back in time, you know, all the way back in time as far as my mind can conceive. So I'll leave it at that, and hope that I shared something that can help you understand that when we're in a space, you know, there's multiple generations and generations and generations and generations of people that were here, and we're still here. We are those generations forward, and we just want to welcome you and everybody into this place and space in a really good way, with kindness and compassion and humbleness, that we are sharing a space now together, you know. And then and that's really important, that we come together and work together and be together. so we can enjoy this space together. I apologize, my back is towards you. It's a little awkward with the camera here. But anyways, miigwech for being here, and I'm glad that we have this beautiful day that we can sit outside and enjoy this beautiful weather together. And thank you for having myself and Grandma Kate come and join you. So miigwech.
Sego Sewa Guego. So I bring the words before all else, and I'm a stroke survivor, so I need to have paper to help me. And so I'm just going to introduce myself in the language. So Sego Sewa Guego is going to go aga. Kathy Brant Yungia, Waxkarewage Yungahaga Gundagi. So I just said I'm Grandmother Kathy Brant from Tyendinaga Mohawk Territory. And in that territory, we have a longhouse. And that longhouse is where we have our ceremonies. And in those ceremonies, I sit with the Bear Clan there. And my elders tell me that Bear Clan are the medicine people. And so I always say that when I am speaking anywhere, that I bring the medicine of love with me. So I begin with the words. So I ask that you just be mindful in this moment so that we can all be of one mind to begin the wonderful day. And I just give a teaching that these words are important because they remind us as we give thanks to the people first, because we are the most vulnerable. Creation can get along just fine without us, but without creation, we would cease to exist. And therefore, we are humble. It is our main responsibility to the natural world and to Creator for its integral part in how we as humans support that web of creation. So when I say that, I mean that we need to love each other as humans so much that we love the earth and that we're able to make those hard decisions around climate crisis, which we are living in right now. And we are the generation to feel this climate crisis, but we are the last generation who will be able to fix it. The last, remember that. And so, I begin. We gather our minds together and we offer greetings and thanks for the people, because we have been given the duty to live in balance and harmony with each other and all living things. And we are grateful that there is still so much love in the world, and now our minds are one. We gather our minds together and we offer our greetings and thanks to all the things upon the earth, all the green and growing things, all the medicines, foods, plants, and trees, the shrubs and grasses, and also to the life within the waters, and our relatives, the animals, and also to the insects. And now our minds are one. We gather our minds together and we offer our greetings and thanks to all the things in the sky, the birds who sing their beautiful songs, the winds that come from the four directions, our elder brother, the sun, who's shining so wonderfully today for us, our grandmother, the moon, and our grandfathers, the thunders, and the stars in the heavens. And now our minds are one. And now we gather our minds together and offer our most choice greetings and thanks to Singwea Diso, Creator of all things. And now our minds are one. And this is where I ask that if there is anything that I have forgotten, that you give such greetings and thanks in your own way. And now our minds are one. And so I know that this is all about Thanksgiving. And so one of my elders, who is well into his 80s, told me that his grandmother told him that as soon as the sun hits the back of his eyelids and the crust comes out of his eyes, he needs to start saying thank you to begin the day. So imagine what a wonderful world we'd have if everyone woke up tomorrow and just said thank you. So now go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, both of you. Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. This particular Sacred Fire Fund is for the, if you'll remember back to May 2021, 2021, the unmarked graves were found in Kelowna. And we know that there are children buried across the country at the residential institutions. And every month, the group that Kimberly and Grandma Kate are connected with hold a sacred fire down at Confederation Basin. And they plan to do that until all the children have been found. So that is this particular sacred fire that the donations will go to today. I also wanted to mention at the back table, there's a rock with a piece of papers underneath it. That's kind of like a reference or an idea guide, things that we found preparing for this service that you might be interested in, things around town. It will go out on in the e-news next week, and that will be have the links embedded. But if you want a paper copy, it's there now. So with this service, Reverend Catherine has been doing a series on women from the Bible, and so we wanted to build around that for this service. So as we sit in circle, we seek to honor and learn from the wisdom of women who have come before, is found in the writings collected in the Bible, telling stories for the past thousands of years of women's leadership. We hear of the courage of the Judge Deborah, who led her people as they rose against oppression. Ruth's loyalty as she supported and followed her mother-in-law to a new land. And the faithfulness of the prophetess Anna as she lived her life in prayer, and Sarah's laughter as she welcomed unexpected gifts from God. From our present time, we honor and acknowledge the wisdom and leadership of the moderator of the United Church of Canada, the Right Reverend Dr. Carmen Lansdowne, a member of the Hopsuk First Nation. She encourages us to move toward repentance and to turn around and make things right. And this morning, we seek to honor and learn from two women spiritual leaders, Grandmother Kate Brant and Kimberly DeBassage, whose work is guided by wisdom passed on through spoken word from generation to generation for many thousands of years. And on a personal note, through my involvement with Walking the Path of Peace together, I've known Grandma Kate and Kimberly for several years. These two women are deeply involved in the community, and I always come away from speaking with them with something to ponder. I look forward to once again hearing your words today, and I give you this gift of tobacco in gratitude. Okay, the opening hymn is More Voices 10, Come and Seek the Way of Wisdom.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good. Really close. That's even better? Yes. Yeah, I'm Jackie Simpson. For those who don't know me, I'm a member of Faith United Church, and also I am part of the Joint Truth and Reconciliation Action Group. So this morning, I just want to say you've all been given the, well, as many as we had anyway, a set of ribbons. And for those who don't, perhaps you can find a partner to share, because I found that it takes two people to braid them, because one has to hold one end while you do it. but anyway, I had a hard time trying to do it on my own. And the ribbons are very representative. They represent something much larger than themselves. They're woven into Indigenous spirituality. The four colored ribbons handed out are symbolic of many things. They are not used by every Indigenous nation, but then the meaning may vary between those who do, but they represent in total the wisdom of the earth and the wisdom of humanity. And it's really quite amazing how much meaning is in those little ribbons. And this wisdom was always traditionally taught by Indigenous elders to each generation, because the Indigenous did not have a written record. And so, well, I could talk all day about all the meanings of the ribbons, but I won't go into any more detail now. It's not my story to tell, but it's quite amazing. The purpose today is to signify the strength of people working together towards a common cause. And Robin Wall Kimmerer, who was an Indigenous author, she wrote a book called Braiding Sweetgrass, and she very wisely wrote that ceremony focuses attention so that attention becomes intention. If you stand together and profess something before your community, it holds you accountable. And today, I want to invite you all, after the service, at some point, to braid the ribbons with intention to continue the pursuit of peace and reconciliation. I'd like to invite you all to pray with me, or to bow your heads while I recite the prayer. God, be with us through struggle and reconciliation. Be with us as we recognize what we must be a part of: loving and just relationships, saying we're sorry and actively meaning it. Remind us that our history as two people is like a braid. We are wrapped together, and there's tension in that and pain, but there is also strength. Creator, we respect and honor the teachings, wisdoms, and traditions Indigenous relations continue to share as we remain mindful and listen, learn, and understand the depths of meaning and significance of the sacred practices and the reverence of the earth. We're thankful to receive this opportunity to share in Indigenous wisdoms and understand ways of being that can enrich our lives together. Dear God, remind us of the beauty and sacredness of the braids, the beauty and sacredness of relationships. Remind us to never again sever these bonds, but respect and honor them in everything we do and say. Great Spirit, help us as we struggle towards reconciliation. Be with us as we remember the cruel and unjust actions colonial systems have been a part of, as we vow to work together towards a new day of justice and love. Amen.
We'll now sing together in more voices 179. 179. now welcome Kim and Grandmother Kate to have a dialogue with one another.
I apologize for our backs towards you. The camera's here, but we'll try to we'll keep spinning in our seats maybe. Grandma Kate? Just kidding. So this tobacco is for myself as Anishinaabe. This is our first medicine that we've been gifted, and it puts us in direct relation with Creator and creation. And so whenever we do things, whenever we start anything ceremony, when we want to offer gratitude and thanks, and or ask for anything or whichever, we take the tobacco that has been offered for whatever it is that we're going to do. We accept the tobacco, and we think about what has been asked of us, and that we ask for help. Not emotion is how we say, help me to do the things that I've been asked to do here today, and share what I can share with you. In that we all take something from this and learn something from each other. And so I'm gonna, in my own heart and in my head, I'm gonna ask for that help from the ancestors and the old ones and my parents, my grandparents. My parents are still here, but they're not here. But they're always in my heart. They're right close to me, and I keep that connection with them really strong. But my grandparents and all the ancestors past, and all the women that have come on before me, and all the aunties and grandmothers that have walked this path and walked this earth all the way back in time, since the beginning of our time. I'm going to ask them to sit with me like I do when I need them. And I'm just going to offer that in silence for a moment. Miigwech. So yeah, so that's our first medicine, and it's a real important one. And like I said, it puts us in direct relation with creation. And I'm just gonna really quickly explain, because I know we only have 20 minutes, and I meant to bring my phone, so somebody's gonna have to give me the the old when it's time to go, because like Pat said, I never run out of words. I don't run out of words or stories. I like to share stories, because that's who we are as well. We're storytellers as Anishinaabe and as a people. That's how we did things. That's how we learned. We told stories. We sat down together. We talked. We conversed. We shared things. And so I'm going to try to keep it at the 20-minute mark. But when I introduced myself, I said that I'm Adik and Dodam. That's a Caribou clan. That's how we say caribou in the Anishinaabe language. Adik is a caribou. And those are the peacekeepers in the community, in the clan system. We're the peacekeepers. We're meant to see what is needed, and if things go a little bit off kilter, we try to bring that peace and that balance back, and hence the antlers, the heavy antlers on a caribou. And so when I say that I am Caribou Clan, I think of those animals, because they have a responsibility, and their responsibility is to provide sustenance and to teach. And so we learn a lot from the animals just by watching them and looking at them and listening to them. And we're always giving gratitude for the food that they offer us, and the medicine that they offer us, because there's medicine in these animals as well that help us be not just spiritual medicine. It's actual medicine in their bodies that they offer us. And so when we harvest them, we do it in a good way. And I also said that I'm a teacher at Queen's University. I'm teaching Anishinaabe language, and I teach at Limestone District School Board. And so that's what I was sharing at the beginning when I said that. And then I am from Manitoulin Island, or what I know it as Minado Minising, and the Anishinaabe Nation knows it as Minado Minising. But in English, it is Manitoulin Island, and Manitou is spirit. And so Manitoulin, it's a place of the spirit, the island of the spirit. And there's lots of stories that go back in time that help us to understand why that land is called that. Much like that there's stories across this land here, and it's really important that we listen and we hear those stories as best as we can when we can. So we were asked to share a little bit about women, Indigenous women in leadership in the community. And so I think for myself, when I think about this, I don't see it as I think the starting point is to look at what we know as a matriarch, because as a woman, as an Anishinaabe, I didn't become who I am and do the things that I do without sitting with aunties and grandmothers and all the women before me and all the women today, and thinking about all the women that are going to come after me, right? Those that are identified as women and the women in the communities. And so I wanted to ask, and maybe ask Grandma Kate about that, because as Anishinaabe, we are considered a patriarchal society. We follow our father's clan. That's what that means. We follow our father's lineage. And that's how we get to know our place in that society, in that community, and our place in that clan system, and our responsibilities. And when I think about this, and now this is just my own thought on it, when we follow our father's clan as Anishinaabe, that's our human walk, what we're meant to do here, right? So as Caribou clan, there's responsibility to look at and be peacekeepers and look at how do we keep harmony and balance in our communities. That's from my father's clan, but my mother follows a clan. She follows a bear clan. And so I often think, what happens to my mother's clan, right? And I think about this, and I think it's the spiritual walk, because I come through her. She held me in water. She held me in her belly. She talked to me. She fed me. She took me around everywhere with her when I was in her belly. So I watched and I learned from her, and I was in there, and they say the babies can feel emotions in there. They can hear. They can do all sorts of things in there. There's movement in there. And we're deeply connected together, my mother and I'm grateful for that connection. But I wonder, like, what happens to her clan? And I think it's a spiritual clan. I think spiritually, not again. These are questions that I'm going to ask elders and talk to elders about, and that's why elders are so important, and older people, and knowledge keepers. It's very important that I sit with them because I have these questions, and so for me, like as Anishinaabe and belonging to a patriarchal society, I wanted to ask Grandma Kate about that matriarch. What does that mean, and what do you think of when you think matriarch or matriarchal society within the Haudenosaunee? Because as I understand it, it is a matriarchal society.
Yeah. So yeah, Haudenosaunee Mohawk people from Tyendinaga. It's only Mohawk at Tyendinaga mainly, and yes, we are matriarchal, and so that means women are held in high esteem, and the reason for that is because my elders tell me is because we can create light, and we can also do our own cleansing, which happens on a monthly basis when we're younger, right? When we go through that rites of passage, and you start your moon time, and then you go through that part of your life. So that's why we are held so in high esteem in among our community of the Haudenosaunee. And but right from the get-go, we are called to responsibility. So just in our greeting alone, our greeting is Sego Skunagoga. And that means in that phrase, I'm not saying hello, hi, or things like that. I'm asking a question. And my question is, do you still carry the great peace? Because we live by the great law of peace. And so, when I'm asking the question, do you still carry the great peace like in your heart? Then it's my responsibility, because I asked the question, to help you with your great peace if you are open to that. So it's a responsibility right from the greeting to help you with that. And we are taught always to take care of ourselves first and protect my own personal peace, so that I can bring my best self to wherever I am going. I can bring that love, I can bring that peace, and I can bring that calmness. And that's the difference between Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. But their matriarchs are very strong too. Yes, yes.
I'm just gonna move my chair because I want to talk to Grandma Kate and look at her, but I'm scared our microphones are gonna hit. Oh, I keep losing these ribbons too. Yeah, that's so beautiful, right? So it's really important to think about what that where the teachings and the understandings come from as matriarchs and as women, right? Like we don't just. I always tell people this. I really appreciate. I'll back it up for a second. I really appreciate the introduction as a what was it? Spiritual leader. But that's not me. That's not me. I'm just I'm a teacher. I teach. I do have my teaching degree, so I actually am a teacher for real. And I teach, like I said, at Queen's University and for the school board. And I'm an auntie, right? I'm an auntie of 9, 8 who are still here, and my niece Jenna, who will always be in my heart. She'll always be with me. And I'm a great auntie or a granty of 2, Lincoln and Cohen. And so that's who I am. And I'm just, somebody asked me too, how do the young people greet me? Do they greet me as grandmother or Nokomis? Nokomis is how we say my grandmother in Ojibwe. And I was like, well, I'm not even a grandmother. And not biologically, certainly, because I don't have children. But even in my heart, in my life, I'm not yet a grandmother. That's not my role. I'm still an auntie, and that's why I surround myself with grandmothers. I try to surround myself with grandmothers so I can learn what my next role will be, and I need to learn from the older generation, you know. And I say older with great reverence to the amount of years of wisdom that they carry, and that you carry, you know, because you know, because it's important to me to learn from that and learn what my next role is. I only know how to be an auntie because somebody taught me how to be an auntie. You know, I watched my aunties, and so when we come back to that idea of matriarchy and women's roles and leadership, I only do what I do because I've seen women. I've sat with women, I've seen women, and I've seen what they do, right from my grandmothers. And I'll share one little piece with you about my grandmother, and then maybe Grandma Kate can share something about any women that have really an experience, even in your younger days. How did you know the importance of women's roles? What did you see? What did you experience? And why you think about that? That's a thing as teachers do. We do it first before we expect other people to do it, so they can see, right? We mentor that, whatever we're asking people to do. So when I think about the matriarchy, like Grandma Kate said, even though we're a patriarchal society, and we're set up as such, there have been great women in my family, of course, and their role in the community is to keep the people together, keep the home together, keep the community together, to sit together and what we think of maybe as gossip. Hey, did you hear what happened over there that day? Blah, blah, blah. You know, they weren't just gossiping. They were really trying to figure out what was going on in the community and where the help was needed, you know, what was happening. And because my grandparents, I should say, lived in a time, you know, I remember not having any TV in the house, or they had a little radio, you know, but mostly they sat together and they conversed. They would visit with each other. People would come over and they would sit down and they would have tea. The first thing my grandma would say is, put the tea on. Go get some tea. Go get the tea ready. Go get some scone. We call scone. We call it baked scone, like a biscuit. And go get the scone. Go get the jam, she would say. You know, we always gave something when people came over to the place, to the house. But the one little thing that I wanted to share was really quickly is one day I wanted to learn how my grandma made baked bread, like baked scone, I should say. And I came out and I had I had a notebook, I had paper and pen. When she said, okay, come into the kitchen in the morning and I'll tell you how to make it. So I came out with my pen and paper, and she just looked at me and she was like, what are you doing with that? And I said, well, I'm going to write down whatever you're doing. And she said, what's going to happen if you lose that? And I was like, well, I don't know. And so she said, just put that away and go get a bowl. And then she said, go get some flour, go get some salt, bring all that over here. and bring some of the water over here and things like this. And then she made it. And to this day, we made it together. She made her bowl, I made my bowl. And to this day, I can still see her hands, how she moved that bread around and how she baked it. And then how she watched it. I remember her going over to the oven and looking, like I literally visualize it in my head, opening the door and looking at it to check it, you know. And then she offered that up to everybody. And she got up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. It was really early in the morning anyway. And that's when she told me to meet her there, because she wanted that bread made before everybody else woke up. So that way the people in the family, the men and the other people that were living there, they could go off to work with something in their bellies. She was looking after them. It wasn't a hardship. It wasn't a domestic role per se to like feed the people. It was her taking care of people, you know. And she was a teacher and she taught me that. So like I said, I can, to this day, I can remember it. And when I look down on my hands, I can see her hands. So the work that I do, she's always there with me. I see her hands. She said to me one day, I can tell that you're my granddaughter because you have a crooked pinky. All her grandchildren have a little crooked pinky. More so than others. Anyways, so that is my story, but that is just one example of watching women and not seeing it as a hardship to look after people. That was her role. And she had 13 children, 11 of her own, and then she adopted 2 of her grandchildren and raised them and looked after them. So Grandma Kate, can you give us an experience that sticks out in your mind?
Well, sadly, it's not from my own personal family, because I grew up in an alcoholic, family violent home, so it was not a good experience. So as I was growing up as a young woman, and I was blessed to go and work and live among the Anishinaabe people. My lips are stuck on it. So I was blessed to live and work among the Anishinaabe of Treaty 3 area. And so I was guided by many elders there. So when I took my position, every position in that community health center was given an eagle feather by elders of their board. And I thought, oh my God, this is serious. Everybody gets to carry this eagle feather because it's a very special thing to carry this eagle feather. And because of this eagle feather, that meant we had to have ceremony around the eagle feather. So every spring and every fall, we did a special ceremony honoring this eagle feather. And because also we had to service 10 First Nations, so we were doing lots of traveling. So I needed to make sure, in my heart, I thought, okay, I need to make sure I know what I'm talking about when I go and help with whatever I happen to be doing in these communities. And so as my role as a health educator, I knew that, okay, I'm the outsider here, so I need to engage an elder from each community wherever I'm working and ask their advice to come and help us do the teaching at this group. And so that's how I navigated it among the Treaty 3 people and their 10 First Nations. And they embraced me like a sister and an auntie at the time because I was younger. And I know that I can always go back there and always have a place to have a cup of tea or a place to sleep at any time. And I learned so much from my own blood memory in walking in their ceremonies. And so yeah, that's just a little piece of how I learned about leadership and being a woman who needs to help and guide people. Nyagoa, thank you.
Miigwech, Grandma Kate. These are, we have many things that we come with as Indigenous people, as Anishinaabe, as Haudenosaunee people. One thing that I know that we have in common is a lot of the things that try to break apart the family. And it did. It broke apart the family. It broke apart our roles. And there's a very good book by Kim Anderson. It's called Reinventing Womanhood. Oof, I'm so sorry if you see this. No, but it's by Kim Anderson. But that book really Reconstructing Native Womanhood. Yay. Reconstructing Native Womanhood. And one of the very first things it talks about is how women were removed from the land when people came here. Because we held such connection to the land, because, as Grandma Kate said, we hold sacred water within us, and we bring forth the next generation, much like Shkokmakwe does, or Mother Earth does. This is our first mother, and she provides, as Grandma Kate said in that opening, that beautiful opening that she does, she provides everything for us, excuse me. She provides everything for us without us even asking, you know? When we're in our mother's womb, we don't ask her. She gives it to us. The water is there, and the water sustains us, right? And so in that book by Kim Anderson, it's a real beautiful, powerful book. It talks about how women were removed from the land in order to get the land, for land appropriation, to come and like settle here and take the land, right? And bring families here and bring people here. And there was certainly a lot of things that fell into place like that. And so we carry some stories within us of families and trauma and hurt and all sorts of things like this. And so I find today, and maybe Grandma Kate, you see this as well, and we have to look at these things, and we have to like recover and heal from these things as well. And I see a lot of young people today, young women, young Indigenous women, that are taking up real solid positions in communities and doing a lot of hard work, you know. I see like people like our friend Jaylene, who traveled and brought her family all the way here to have a life here and make life here in Kingston. And now they run their own business up at Fort Henry. And it's a successful business, and they're artists, and her children are being raised up in that way. And that's really powerful, you know, and intergenerationally, like they have connections right there with their grandmother, you know. And I see people like our friend Zoe, right? Zoe has just completed, or is finishing up completing her PhD, and is just a beautiful artist, you know, spoken word artist and poet and singer and like all sorts of things, you know, just amazing. And so, what do you think, Grandma Kate, is what, just like maybe we can just have a little conversation about that, about how you see these young people coming up into these roles. What is that helps us move from that place of trauma and hurt that we all carry, and displacement that we all carry, where these young people now are like taking up these roles? What do you think that transition has been?
I think they are smart enough to seek out guidance for one thing, and gather the right people around them. And I am so hopeful for the future, because our prophecies say that everything will be okay, you know, if we make all the right decisions. And I see this happening with the young people. And my hope is in all the young people coming out. And no matter where I am with youth, I see so many gifts and so much promise and so much trust that I know that everything will be okay. Everything will be okay.
Yeah, I think when I look around the communities too, like, excuse me, when I look around the communities too, I see it's predominantly women, and sometimes I ask myself, where are the men? Where are the men? Where are the uncles? Where are the grandfathers? Where are the men when we come together? Because it seems to be predominantly women that are taking up charges to do things, to make changes, right? And why do you think that is, Grandma Kate?
Well,
Why is it women that are coming into these roles, and where are the men?
I think it's because we still live with our hearts. we still have the connection with our hearts. And sometimes when men are carry trauma, that's the first thing they lose, is their connection to their hearts. And so it can be a long walk back to it. And so this is why I believe that we as women step up and carry that on. I know that with Haudenosaunee women, we are the law. So we better friggin' step up. Because if nobody else is gonna do it, we're friggin' stepping up right now.
That's true, right? And I was saying to Grandma Kate about our time here today that I'm just gonna see, maybe Pat, can you tell me how much time we have left? Sorry.
What does that mean?
Small? Okay. What does that mean? It means our bellies are rumbling. No, when I was talking to Grandma Kate about today and about the things that we might talk about, I was saying, Matt, we carry a lot as women. Not only do we bring forth, well, not me, but I've been with my sister when she brought forth my niece. When I saw her come out, I was right there, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to birth babies, and it's traumatic for the mom. It's trauma for the mom's body, and it's trauma for the baby to come out of a nice, warm, secure place to come into this world, and everybody wants to pick the baby up right away and look at it and all sorts of things. But it's a beautiful process. So we carry a lot by bringing forth the next generations, by looking after communities, because that is, as Grandma Kate said, naturally that is just instinctively what we do. Because we carry forth the next generation, we care for the communities. We're asked, and we're in positions within the community to have counsel. So, whenever I try to do something, or whenever I seek to do something, I ask the grandmothers. It doesn't matter which grandmother. It could be Grandma Kate. It could be mostly my grandmothers in the community, or not my grandmothers, but I do ask my grandmothers in my heart and with my tobacco, and I ask them to be with me. But whenever I do something, I try to ask the grandmothers and the aunties for their permission, for their thought, for their counsel, how to do something, how to make a change. All the way through that, making those changes, how do I maintain that? And Grandma Kate knows when we started that fire, there was no fire being held in Kingston. There was every so often fires being held, but not on a continual basis like this that we're holding for the children. Mm-hmm. And I think that for myself, that was one of the most significant things, is because these kids will have never got to actualize their lives, and through no fault of their own. They just happen to find themselves in a place, in a space, and they never got to actualize their life. So we're missing out on the mothers and the aunties and the grandmothers. We're missing out on the healers and the teachers and the doctors and the lawyers. We're missing out on all these things. And so that is a heavy load to carry in our hearts, knowing that our nations and our brother and sister nations, the brother and sister nations that we have connected with already around this, it's a heavy load to carry, to know that those are not those are missing, and that's what they have called them, less to white, the missing out of Kamloops to Kamloops. And so but when I look around that fire, it's mostly women, right? Mm-hmm. And when I thought we should do something, I called women together. Mm-hmm. And certainly men have been supportive in that, for sure, 100%. The men in the community have held the fire, and the two spirited ones hold the fire. But we do carry a lot, and I was saying that to Grandma Kate. We carry a lot as women, just because of that role that we take up of looking after. And Grandma Kate always says it so nicely, that to always look after ourselves. We have to look after ourselves first and foremost. And I just want to say thank you for having us here today. Like, I really appreciate sharing a little bit. But when you look around the Indigenous community in and around Kingston, Kataraqui, Kingston in the area, you'll see that it is a lot of women that are involved there, that are in these positions of change. And hopefully we were able to share something with you today about it's beautiful to see that. But they have done that through a lot of hard work. They've done it through the displacement of people. They've done it through broken families. They've done it through trauma. And we're still battling this. It's in our lives every day. We're surrounded by a dominant society, which is not ours. So we still have to like really look at and remember who we are. And I was sharing that with people. I share it with students. I said, my first job is to remember. As a Anishinaabe, because I wasn't always raised with these values and traditions like this, but I always went home and I had a very strong connection to my community and to values and principles we live by, but I didn't really understand what that meant because I was raised in the city. So my job is to remember first, to remember who the Anishinaabe are, remember who I am as a Anishinaabe, and then to reclaim, to take that back and reclaim it so I can do the work of lighting the fire, of teaching children, of sitting with grandmothers and grandfathers and aunties and uncles and being the best auntie that I can. And once I reclaim that, then I can help revitalize it by going to ceremonies and learning the language and doing all these things and connecting spiritually to who I am. And once I can reclaim it, to me, that's how we restore our nations, right? But it is hard work. So I really appreciate being here and sitting here with you today. And hopefully, like I said, that we've shared something. Like when we see people in those positions, they are in those positions through systems that we weren't meant to survive. That's the hard work that they did to get there. And so when we look for allyship, when we look for friends, when we look for people to sit with us and to share with us and to bring us those amazing egg salad sandwiches to the fire. And just to hold our hands. I don't know how many times I've cried at that fire or in and around spaces, just not even at the fire, but just even trying to be Indigenous in the city, in a city where there's many Indigenous people, and we're trying to bring it back together again, just simply through the work that we do. It's hard and it's heart-wrenching work sometimes. And sometimes I sit with people and I cry. And then I thank them for sharing that space and letting me be vulnerable with them. But so that's really why it's important that we have allies, that we have friends that we can sit with and be vulnerable with, and that will sit with us and beside us and walk beside us and help us, do what we need to do. Because whatever we do, trust me, it's for the benefit of all. I was listening to a talk today of women in bioengineering, and we connect to the earth and we have these ways because we all need clean drinking water. None of us can survive without clean drinking water. None of us can survive without a clean ground to grow that our food grows on, or clean air to breathe. None of us can survive without these trees that Grandma Kate always reminds us of. Creation shows up for us every single day. And I think that we've held on to understandings for a real specific reason, because it's our time. The old ones, they taught us that you need to know these things because people will come and looking for help. And I really firmly believe that. And like you said, with the young people, they see that. And I think that they're ready. They're becoming ready. And it's our job as women and as older generations to help them. If we're not helping with the responsibility of seeing children and helping them be okay and raising them up to do what they need to do, then we're not fulfilling our responsibilities to that next generation. And so I always tell young people, I hope that you grow up, and I want you to grow up to be real old, like 120 years old, with a whole bunch of stories to tell, because those next generations are going to need to hear your story, And I always tell young people, go sit with the old ones, go sit with the older people, because they've lived through a life that you'll never live through, and they have things to tell you about how to navigate that, and it'll help you in your future. So I've probably gone over again, but I really appreciate sitting here with you, Grandma Kate. Is there anything that you want to share at the very last little bit?
Maybe I just want to explain a little bit more about the matriarchal society of Haudenosaunee. So that means, so in our system and way of living was that it was the women who chose who the chiefs were, because they raised the children and they knew who had leadership qualities. So they chose who the chiefs were. And the chiefs were sent out to, do negotiations and carry on business and that sort of thing. But they could not have a final say without bringing their information back to the women back to those leadership women and talk to them first before they make a final decision about what's happening out there. And so that's what I mean about matriarchal as well. So that's how important we were. That's why we were the last say in the law. The law, yeah. I just want to share that. Nyawagoa, thank you so much.
I just wanted to share one last thing about these 4 colors here. Now, there's a unity circle that came out in the time of protests when people were trying to bring people together. And so some people may know this as the 4 colors of man, or the 4 races, But I understand these things a little bit differently through ceremony. And all the colors of creation, they tell us, have a meaning. And so this red here, of course, you may assume, and you would assume correctly, that this is the color of love. This is the color of love, this red color. This black color here, this is the color of the ancestors. Because as the sun sets over here and the nighttime comes, that's the doorway we go through to spirit world. This is the color of the ancestors. This is the color of respect, right here, yellow. This is the color of that new day. So every day, we're meant to greet that sun and give gratitude and thanks to grandfather's son or the elder brother's son for what it brings to us, which is life. It is a fire. And that fire is just as much life giver as water is. And then this is the color of the future. White is the color of the future. So when you're braiding these things together, as an Anishinaabe anyway, that's Anishinaabe understandings, and I don't speak for all Anishinaabe, because sometimes in place of the black, they'll use blue, right? I just speak for as I know it, and as it's been shared with me. So when you braid these together, I'm hoping that you'll remember that to braid it with love and respect, thinking about the ancestors and your ancestors past too, and the future. Your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. And there, when you have a grandchild, when you hold that baby up, you're holding your great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren and great-great-great-grandchildren and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. Mm-hmm. When we think of the future, to me, I think as far as forward as my mind can conceive. And when I think of the past, I think as far back as my mind can conceive. And so when you're braiding these together, this is a really beautiful thing that you're going to do, I'm hoping that you'll as well entertain those thoughts too, of this is not just the 4 colors of a medicine wheel. That medicine wheel is a beautiful framework, but there's many layers, too many to talk about in like the short time that we have. But anyway, I just wanted to share that about the colors.
I also have one more thing to share, and it's about the love. It's about the love. So my elders tell me that love is not just an emotion and a feeling that you have for someone else. Love is a way of being. And they said that an elder who has reached their epitome as an elder is someone who, when they walk in the room, you feel the love of them before you see them. And that's the epitome of the love that you need to carry, because you carry your own personal peace, right? Your own personal peace. And so also I want to tell you that love, the word for love, or some people say I love you in Mohawk or Ginyageha, is the word, it's called Ganarunkwa. But it does not just translate to I love you. It translates to you are the most precious person that I care for. That's what it translates to. And you can only say that word to another human being. You cannot say it to anything else. Only to another human being. So I just wanted to share that with you today. To bring that love. Nyawagoa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all that wisdom that you shared with us. I ask you, we're going to sing now we're going to do a prayer responsively. And so the response is number 15 in your more voices. The words are, Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your breath on us. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your life in us. So we'll sing that together, and then I'll ask that you bow your heads in prayer, and you'll know when to sing because I'll say, as we sing, that is your cue. So if you could play it through once for us. Number 15. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your breath on us. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your life in us. Great Spirit, we come before you with hearts full of gratitude and appreciation. We are thankful for so much, our church families, and the opportunity to learn from members of Indigenous communities. We give thanks for the leadership and wisdom of strong women and teachers, both past and present, as well as for the loving fathers and father figures in our lives. Thank you, Creator God, for the abundance of beauty that surrounds us. The sound of the waves on Lake Ontario, the gentle breeze on our skin, the warmth of the sunshine, the majesty of the trees, and the feel of Mother Earth below our feet. Encourage us to slow down and take notice of the wonders that nature has to offer, and let us give thanks. Breathe your spirit of gratitude among us as we sing together. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your breath on us. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your life in us. Dear God, we acknowledge there is much pain, suffering, fear, and injustice in the world. We pray for those living in war-torn countries, those living with addictions or other mental health conditions, those who are in the throes of grief. We especially pray for the families and communities of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. We remember the atrocities that took place in residential schools and the generational trauma that continues to inflict suffering upon Indigenous families. We ask, Great Spirit, that you surround all those who are in pain with your loving presence. Breathe your spirit of compassion and healing love on those who suffer as we sing together. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your breath on us. Holy Sacred Spirit, breathe your life in us. Holy Mystery, we honor our ancestors, the ones who came before us, our mothers and fathers, our grandmothers and grandfathers, aunties and uncles. Encourage us to hear their stories, learn from their wisdom, and to braid their stories with our own as we go forward in hope. We can be a beacon of change and light in this world. Help us to know that we are not alone, that we are one in your spirit, and that every voice counts. Dear God, grant us divine wisdom and discernment to be a hopeful presence in this world, to turn our words and intentions into action, to make a difference in the name of love, which is at the source of all. Breathe your spirit of passion in us. Ignite a fire in our bellies. Stir us to action as we sing together. Holy sacred Spirit, breathe your breath on us. Holy sacred Spirit, breathe your life in us. Hear these our prayers and all the prayers of the people, those spoken out loud, those whispered, and those we keep silent and close to our hearts. Amen and amen. Our final hymn is 135, called By Earth and Sky. It speaks of the beauty of nature, the mountains, the wind, and maybe I'll invite you to stand as we sing in circle together, number 135.
Friends, as we gather here in this holy and sacred place, I invite you to take your left leg and push it down into Mother Earth. Feel that stability that she offers to us. Be rooted in this place of grace. And take your right foot and dare to put it just a little ahead and lean into that foot. That's our next step in truth and reconciliation and listening to story and song, being a community that is braided together with strength and mercy and grace. Go from this place ready to braid your heart with someone new. Go from this place ready to braid your story and incorporate someone else's story in it. Go from this place ready to braid your faith with someone who loves Mother Earth, Holy Creator, and all the gifts that are offered to us. We offer our gratitude and our thanks to Kimberly and to Mother Kate, Grandmother Kate, for sharing your gifts, your stories, and your blessings with us today. And as we go from this place, let us go with hungry bellies. We ask that as you share your cash donation to keep the sacred fire burning, you move into the lower hall. We're blessed with compostable plates that will go into the earth and cause new life. And we encourage you to feast and then find a new friend to sit with and share your stories and share your hearts. May the blessings of the food bless our bodies and spirits and souls. And for that, all God's people can say, Amen.